playing Storm of Zehir for PC, and this is again the third official campaign for the game, and it's going to be the last. If they're coming out with another expansion, it would have happened by now. We have a cult here, which the good wife in West Harbor has told us she wants us to get rid of. So, like good, dutiful adventurers, we follow whenever someone requests you to do a quest. And this is actually an area from the original campaign, slightly modified. You can't actually go up into the back part of it. We're just going to have to deal with the front here. So we talked to Jan, and more or less you can try and talk him into going back, and he won't. And so, you know, Shiden Zen is the merchant who was in West Harbor before, and it turns out he's the leader of the cult. And, you can use some diplomacy, and you can use some intimidate. And you can use some bluff. More or less the only result of that is which side Jan Buckman is on during the battle. I probably should have buffed up first, but, this isn't a really hard fight. There isn't anything interesting here, but you do have to kill off all the cultists to complete the quest, and not all of them come charging up when you start. That weapon rack has some just vanilla +2 weapons. And I'm not going to bother to clean up. There's nothing of interest here. And we hand this back in to good wife Arna. She gives you gardener's gloves, which are, well, should be useless, but are in fact the only item in the game that has regeneration on it. They, I guess, decided that the amount of regeneration that was available in Mask of the Betrayer was a little bit too much. Back at our merchant headquarters, Variel has more trade bars for us. Let's just say quite a few more. And we'll hand in quite a few of them, and we're back to 500,000 GP. I'm going to take advantage of that by using the Adventurers Guild function to bring some of my cohorts up to my level, so that I can use them for some crafting abilities. Here at the guild, it's just a conversation option, and he says my experience lags behind, costs 40,000 gold, which is not cheap, but I now have constant income, so I'm not worried about it. And Finch will continue to gain Bard levels. I don't really care too much about his skills, I just want to make sure he has enough use magic device. And I'll give him Cure Critical Wounds. And I'll do a little more leveling. And Charisma. Again, use magic device and whatever else he wants. The other thing I want to give him is Craft Wand. Since he can use scrolls made by anybody, I can now have Acetam, for example, scribe a scroll, and then have Finch use the scribe scroll to make a wand. So that'll let me cast pretty much any 4th level or lower spell More or less indefinitely, because it all costs is cash, and I have a lot of cash. We'll give Cheer craft magic arms and armor. We'll also give Cheer craft wondrous items, as well as brew potion. Since we have the option and the feat, may as well get craft wand here as well. It simplifies the steps. There aren't that many items we can actually make with the craft wondrous item feat, mostly because we lack the reagents. In some cases, you have to get these reagents by just grinding enemies, and frankly, the game isn't hard enough to justify it. We can, however, make some Cloaks of Charisma +6, because I did specifically kill some will-o-wisps, because they're just easy and good XP early on in the game. So I'll make 2 of those. I've used Finch's craft wand feat to build up a couple wands just for convenience's sake. I now have 50 charges of Isaac's Lesser Missile Storm when I want to cast an attack spell but don't have one ready. I have, well, I used one just to make sure it worked, a Wand of Mirror Image, so I can the ones I cast are better than the ones that will come out of the wand. But when you're actually getting hit, you don't want to have to worry about spell failure. And, it gives you a lot of charges to work with. I also picked up a Wand of Identify so the bard doesn't have to cast it. The druid has a Wand of Cure Critical Wounds. The bard also has a Wand of Cure Critical Wounds, as well as a Wand of Haste, a Wand of Mirror Image, and a Wand of Isaac's Lesser Missile Storm. So between the scrolls I can give her and the wands she has available, the bard is now sort of a spellcaster. Strangely enough, favorite souls don't get to use cleric wands, which is actually sort of annoying, because it means that Napro is actually just going to have to continue to cast Cure Critical Wounds if I want him to heal someone. While here at Crossroad Keep, I picked a mission from Sonny. And you have to read a couple things dialogue. And there's some guys who want protection money from us, so we're just going to have to go pick them up. And you hand in the quest, and, Nasiran starts belly aching about it, but there's not really very much to say. And she more or less says, gain ranks in whatever organization you joined. Instead of walking, I'm going to teleport to Coneyberry. We're actually going to be naughty adventurers, and instead of turning the quest into the quest dispenser, we're going to turn it into this guy, who's the tavern boy, who is listed as in the will and deed as the son of the foreman of Param's Rock. And, more or less you can blame the quest dispenser for his father's death, and you show him the notes, and you can give him the deed for the mine. And, more or less, you can just sort of screw over the guy who gave you the quest in the first place, because it was his fault. So I'm not going to just say quiet fool. And he threatens revenge, and the tavern boy invokes the god of vengeance, and it's all good. Strangely enough, despite what could be seen as righting a great wrong, you get no alignment for that. I think the only thing where you actually get any alignment adjustment is some of your discussion options in West Harbor when fighting the dragons. While I'm here in Coneyberry, I'm going to pick up a dark steel for the sensate. And we haven't really explored this sort of Middle Eastern area, so I'm going to just wander around a little bit and see what we can find. There are 2 things that if I'd actually been reading you all the dialogue that we've gone through, the bards that stole Kelgar's gloves are supposedly somewhere out here, and there's also the guys who were trying to blackmail us who are in this crystal cave. This is a strange little place here. It's a cabin, and it doesn't say that you discover it. I don't know if this area is supposed to be an Easter egg or something. It's sort of unusual, as if it's making a reference to something, but I don't recognize it. There's this old man named Skull Crusher here, and you can tell him to curb the attitude, and he tells you, you picked the wrong old man to bully today. It's more or less, there's no way to get out of this without a fight. Skull Crusher himself is a barbarian of some sort. There are traps all over the place that only go active after you talk to him. He also summons these ivory shield maidens, which are not particularly dangerous, but they're all Quite a few of them. We, of course, buffed up ahead of time. Too slow. Oh well. I'll heal up and be right back. Let's get to disarming these traps. Once again, the traps are worth a lot more XP than the enemies, so being careful about disarming them is well worth it. I have cast heroism on my thief so that he has skill bonuses. I've also activated inspire competence, so that's essentially +4. Yeah, I could get a little more if I really wanted it. And there's a lot of loot here, but none of it is particularly interesting. The guy himself has some much better items, including a Ring of Freedom of Movement, a Belt of Frost Giant Strength. This Ivory Horn of Valhalla is what he uses to summon the Iron Shield Maidens. They're not that good, unfortunately. And then there's this Cadorna family sword, which has, essentially an explanation of who Skullcrusher is. And it's okay. He also has Brain Scrambler, which is a Morning Star that causes confusion. But I'm not going to use any of this stuff. Some of these things I'm all bothered to sell just because they'll be worth maximum cap to the null if I ever bother to sell them. They may just sit in a bag of holding for the rest of the game. I count about 1,500 or more XP from traps in this area, which is more than I get for most quest rewards. So that's pretty much the point of this area. It's XP for rogues. So that's the end of this episode. Come back next time when we deal with our blackmailers here and we clean out some iron mines and pretty much clean up the last of what the Sword Coast has to offer.